Hey, everyone. Welcome to the VO Boss Podcast and the Real Bosses series. I'm your host, Ann Ganguzza, and I'm here with the one and only illustrious Mr. Tom Dheere, Real Boss.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Ann.
Hey, Tom. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. If I'm not mistaken, didn't you just have an anniversary?
I did. Just celebrated 25 years with my hubby.
Whoa.
Whew. It seems like yesterday. I swear to God, 25 years just went so fast.
That's amazing.
And you just were telling me about your blogiversary. How
Yes,
long have you been blogging?
17 years.
Oh my God, Tom, that blogging. I mean, I've been blogging for a while, but blogging for 17 years is insane.
Thank you.
Wow, you must have really good SEO. That's all I gotta say.
I would like to. Yeah. My SEO is pretty good. Yeah.
We would like to think that you have good SEO, but
Yeah.
wow. So long-term relationships, it makes me think about voiceover because I have been in voiceover just about as long.
Yeah.
Not quite as long as I've been married to my husband, but 21 years, and it's incredible. I feel like I just started, but yet I don't because it is. And we always talk about it being a marathon, not a sprint. And I think you've been in voiceover longer than me.
Yes, I decided I wanted to be a voice actor in 1994.
Wow.
And then, and then I got my
Some
commercial
people
demo.
were born in 1994. Not me.
I know.
I know. Some
Some of my students
some
haven't
people
been
listening,
born.
some bosses listening to this are going to be like, I was born in 1994.
I know, or 2004. And then I got my commercial demo in 1995, and I booked my first voiceover in 1996, and I went full-time as a voice actor in 2005, and started coaching in 2011. So I've been...
I started coaching just shortly before you.
Just a little bit longer because then, because we met shortly thereafter at Voice 2012.
Oh my goodness.
We already knew each other, but I don't think we met.
Yep.
But I remember
I
definitely remember we hung out at Voice 2012, which was 13 years ago.
Oh my gosh. Woo!
At Disneyland.
So and it's funny because we talk about, how long have you been in voiceover and how long did it take you to become successful in voiceover? Right. Well, I always say, my overnight success took many, many years.
Right.
So I think it's something that a lot of people don't understand, especially those that are intrigued by this industry, thinking that, I can stay at home, I can do this, I can buy the mic, it'll cost me a few $100s, and then I can just start booking jobs and making money. And I think really I know we talk about it all the time, but I think I want to have a whole episode dedicated to the realities of having a long VO career. And the fact that it is something that you have to be in for the long run, if you truly want to be successful at it. I mean, of course, you could be in it for a couple of years, and then if you don't like it, you get out. But most people I know they want to be successful at it. They want to make a good living. So let's talk about what it's like to be in voiceover for a long time and what it looks like, because it's certainly not like a corporate job. I am a corporate girl and came from corporate and then education. And I certainly was not handed a paycheck every other week in this full-time voiceover job, that's for sure, because it's a much different industry. It's our own businesses.
Yeah. I mean, I have the luxury of being able to zoom out and look at 30 years of being in the voiceover business, where when I started, they just segued out of reel to reels and started using plastic cassette tapes. Mm-hmm. So I'm of the cassette tape generation of voice actors that started in the mid 90s, and now we are.
I was CDs.
You were CDs, so you were
CDs.
shortly after the cassettes came the
CDs came out.
And then a few years after the CDs came the MP3.
Yeah,
right.
And it was a thing because I remember the burning of the CDs was like, oh God, who do I get to do that for me?
I did it myself.
Yeah, well, that was before, right? CD burners came out, and now you could.
Oh no, I had a duplication company that I did all my cassettes through, and then started doing the CDs, and then I was like, wait a minute, I can print my own labels using Avery. I can make my own stuff with my phone number and everything, and then I can burn my own CDs, stick it in the tray in my desktop.
I was one of those people. I got that sticker
The stamp thing where you push it down.
Thing, you stamp
Yes.
your label on the CD, and that
Yes.
was like, oh my gosh! Oh, now I feel old, Tom.
Now we're getting really
Woo!
anachronistic and alienating ourselves.
That was the coolest. That was the bee's knees.
That was kind of fun.
I love that
a
little
cat's meow.
stamper. That was awesome.
It was, but anyway, so looking back, and zooming out, and like looking at like what are the realities of what you need to have a long VO career. I mean, it starts with training. It absolutely starts with training. I'm a theater trained actor. I went to college and then I did a little graduate work at a place called the National Shakespeare Conservatory that used to be here in New York City. Yeah. So I got like hardcore theater training about body and mind and spirit and voice and engaging. I had great voice coaches. I had ballet coach, Chekhov coach, like all this stuff that really gave me a very, very, very solid foundation. So if you want, so step one, if you want longevity in the voiceover industry, if you want a long career, you got to start with very solid training, performance training, voiceover training, genre training, so you can be demo ready.
I didn't realize you had been theater trained.
Yes.
How did I not know that about you, Tom? And I've known you for a long time.
It doesn't come. I mean, it was so long ago.
Wow.
But yeah,
do you miss it? Do you still do it, or do you miss it? Or
no, I haven't been on a stage in almost 25 years. When I discovered voiceover after I dropped out of the conservatory for reasons we will not get into, as soon as I discovered voiceover, I was like, oh, that's where I need to be. And that's where also I can take all of that training that I did on stage. And I had a little bit of on camera, I had a little bit of TV and a little bit of film experience, very, very little bit, like extra work on 30 Rock and things like that. You know, that sort of, you know, if you blink, you'll miss me, that sort of thing. But that inhabited me as, I'll put it to you this way. That sort of training, theater training, it's like pro wrestling. Like, it's large gestures projecting, you know, into an audience, and then voiceover is boxing. It's very it's very intimate, and it's very very close. So that all that great theater training, I had to obviously learn to make adjustments and turn from this very open, broad presentational type of acting to this very intimate one-on-one, you know, doing this kind of acting. And I use that training consciously or unconsciously every day, 30 years later. But like I definitely I credit a large part of my longevity as a voice actor to the performance training that I got. And I had a great voiceover coach who's no longer with us. She really set me on the path to understanding the difference between theater acting and film acting and voice acting. And, you know, it gave me all kinds of exercises and stuff. And, you know, I still have the cassette demo to this day. But that training, I still have it. I whip it out once in a while at a conference or something. I'll be like, check it out. And people are like, oh my God, is that what's? And then the Gen Zs are like, what's a J card? What? Look it up if you don't know what it is.
In those 30 years, though, would you say that there's been like, okay, so I do this, and then I get to this level, and then this is what I do next? Is it like a, you know, what are the steps to attaining and achieving that voiceover career?
That's a great question. First off, there are no levels. There are no steps.
Right?
It never gets any easier. It just turns into different types of hard.
That we can just go home now, because I think that sums it up in a nutshell, because it is so not a linear climb. It is not.
No.
But it's something that I think that, you know, over time, that's why I think you have to be in it for a long time, right? So you can adjust, you can evolve, you can work with it and understand it and somewhat predict it. I don't know. Not predictable.
Oh, I wish I could.
But maybe a little bit. Right. You can make it more predictable in certain ways, right?
Yes, you can. Yeah, absolutely. Understanding how the industry ebbs and flows, understanding trends, keeping up with performance trends, keeping up with technology trends. That's a big part of the realities of a long VO career. But I definitely want to drive home the point that there is no linear, like, do this, do this, do this, successful.
Right.
That's not how it works. You got to get your training. You got to get a website. You got to get demos produced. You got to set up a home recording studio. Those are your pillars, and
You
even
have
the
to have-
intricacies of that changes.
I think you have to have, I think what's important, and again, we talk about why you're called the VO strategist, but there has to be a strategy for a long-term success in
Yes.
voiceover, because there are the ebbs and flows, there's ups, there's downs, and boy, the first time you have a down or a lull in your business and you question everything you've ever like, what got you into it in the first place. You're like, oh my gosh, I don't belong here. Should I? I mean, there's so many things that happen during a lull in your business, because it makes you question, am I good enough? Am I valid? Am I to be a success in this industry? Should I just quit? Should I give it up? Should I not have quit my job?
Right.
And so there's so many things that get in the way of evolving and growing in your career. And again, this is not a linear growth. It's ups, it's downs. And sometimes you can be like, oh, I just booked that gig, and then things are amazing for a while. But then you're like, okay, so I should be able to book the other gig. I should be able to book a gig a week now. And then you say, okay, my goal is to book 10 jobs every week, right? Did you ever try that? Because I tried that a long time ago. I'm going to book, my goal is to book 10 jobs a week.
I had a very I had a very specific I had a very specific thing to that end, which is I thought for a very long time I needed 3 very specific sources of voiceover income to be successful and like consistent and sustainable on an income level. One was with a regular client that I was making well over $10,000 a year with for a number of years. One was Voice 123 as a source of online casting, a source of auditions and bookings. And then I was just that elusive third source. And I was saying that for years and years and years. And my career has evolved and gone up and down and all around that. I don't think that way anymore. Because what's interesting is that client that was paying me well over $10,000 for many, many years, who I still work with to this day. I've worked with them since 1997. I now book 1 or 2 gigs a year with them because their business model changed and the industry of their genre changed. So therefore, my relationship with them changed. I'm still on Voice 123, making great money, and there's
Tom,
so many factors.
So many factors to that, and I love that because it's not just about you and your skill set and your skill level. The industry changes because our clients change, their industries change, right? Their jobs change. Our relationships change with the people. That some people come and go from jobs, and especially when you're talking about the repeat client or clients that you've had for years, which are great. They're wonderful. They're one of the more predictable things in this industry that you can count on. But then again, don't count on them all together because tomorrow they could be gone.
Right. And as you were talking, I just had a revelation.
Ah.
Okay.
Will you disclose the revelation?
Oh, no, I'm going to share. No, I'm going to leave and run away and write a book.
No, I must go. I must go now. No revolution
No.
for the bosses.
So this is one thing I've realized. In the past 25 years or so of me being a voice actor, roughly 50% of my voiceover income has come through e-learning, explainer, corporate, industrial, medical. That's been roughly 50% of my income this whole time, almost since the beginning.
So that's been stable.
Yes, but what hasn't been stable is the other 50%. On a genre, we're talking purely on a genre level.
On a genre basis.
On a genre level.
Well, yay, corporate explainer e-learning.
Right. So
all my stuff too, and I agree with you. And you know why, Tom? I'm going to say one of the biggest reasons for that.
Yeah.
Well, obviously because you're awesome, but the other reason is the sheer size of the market. The size of the market, which is what I always tell people, like, here are the advantages of at least, looking into these genres and studying these genres and getting into them for part of your career, is that just the sheer size of the market is incredible. Yeah.
It's interesting because now that I'm kind of thinking through the evolution of what the other 50% has been, and the other 50% hasn't been all one other genre, but it's been a combination of other genres. But I would say for the first third of that years, that other third a big part of that other 50% was commercial. But then around from 2011 basically for like roughly 2011 and for another 10 years, it turned into audiobooks. Which the lion's share of that other 50% was audiobook narration. And now what a big chunk of it is political.
Yeah.
So things
Mine
change.
is more, I'm going to say mine is more heavier on the e-learning, just because it's what I enjoy doing. E-learning, corporate, explainer, all of that side. 30% commercial, but again, that's the one that is super volatile, the commercial genre aspect of it. And audiobooks, I did one and I said, and I was no longer going to pursue that. And then I had other areas of my business that I found to be interesting, which obviously VO Boss was one of those. VO Peeps was another thing. And those were alternate sources of income. But when you talk about just voiceover, the real steady part has been the size of the market in the non-broadcast long format narration genres. And I always tell people, like, it's just a huge market that is always needing voiceover. And for me, that's just kind of where I live, because I love it, number one, and I find it to be challenging intellectually and also creatively. And so that's where I choose to spend my time pursuing income and pursuing jobs in those genres. But I would say in terms of ups and downs, yes, but there's ups and downs in those genres as well, because again, you're still trying to find the client. You're trying to be able to get the client's attention. Right? I mean, there's it can be a huge market, but if they don't know you're out there, right? And then part of that is let's try to get their attention to say, hey, I'm out here. You can hire me for that voiceover. Let me audition for you. I'm available. I'm reliable, and that sort of thing. So that's got to be like a big portion of the consistency, like being resilient and consistent, I think, is so important in having a long-term career in this industry.
Resiliency and consistency. So
resilient right here on my arm.
Oh, look at that.
Resilience. Yes, resilience is on my arm. So
I didn't know. I never noticed that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is definitely a plus.
So as just a very brief recap and then keep going, the realities of a long VO career, we said training at the beginning, and then I talked about genre stability, working in stable genres, and then when you're talking about consistency and resilience, but you touched upon something which is also the next part of it, is adapting to the realities of marketing strategies. Because
oh my gosh, yes.
Marketing strategies, the effectiveness of marketing strategies changes through the years. What worked 5 years ago doesn't necessarily work anymore, and what didn't work or didn't exist 5 years ago as a marketing strategy may be a critical part of your marketing strategies and tactics.
And see, performance too has evolved over the years. Not quite as drastic,
that's the
as
thing.
Marketing,
Performance involved. Performance demands evolve. Genres rise and fall and grow and ebb and flow. And marketing strategies. All of this stuff evolves and changes, and some stuff becomes obsolete, and some stuff becomes like, if you're not doing it now, you may not have a career. And then 5 years from now, it's gonna change on you.
And when I think about like longevity, right? I think about, a lot of people will be like, burnout, is there burnout or is there just, fatigue in the actual work that's involved in running a business? I think there are two different things, right? I personally feel, unless you've been in it for a while and you're really like, I'm going to give this a go, right? And I'm going to audition 100 times a day. Then you experience fatigue or burnout. I can see that for sure, because I think there's more ways to really move forward than just the auditioning on a daily basis. There's so many other things you can do in terms of marketing and business, right? But I feel like just being consistent and being out there, because a lot of times I talk about, when do clients buy? We are at the mercy of the clients buying our service, needing our services, number one, and then purchasing our services. And so unless that need exists, right, it's hard. It's like, we have to just be patient, and we have to be resilient, and we have to be consistent in our marketing, and we also have to make sure that we're consistent in our skill set, right, and that we are not falling into something and we're educating ourselves along the way, so that if somebody's asking for a a conversational read when the script is not written conversationally, but yet we're still reading it, in a way that sounds like this is what they want to hear, versus you acting, and that's easy to fall into. It's very easy to fall into that. I deal with that all the time because I teach long format narration, because you can keep somebody's attention for a sentence, but talk about keeping somebody's attention for, 5 minutes or 10 minutes or an hour. Right? How are you doing that effectively, especially in today's world where, I can barely I can't sit through a sitcom without scrolling on my phone.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it's definitely a challenge. And that's why continuing education with great coaches like Anne, not to blatantly plug too much, but because Anne is who is also a narrator who is booking work regularly, who is reading casting notices and auditioning for stuff regularly,
absolutely.
I'm assuming you're having conversations in some capacity with your representation, and making cold calls and emails and doing blog posts and social media and shooting videos.
Well, yeah, there's so much to it, right?
Yeah, there's
so much more than
to it.
just the audition. And I did want to I wanted to finish my thought on I was talking about is it fatigue because you're doing 100 auditions a day, or is it burnout? I'll be quite honest with you. I don't think the majority of people that get into this industry know how much work it takes.
No.
To be quite honest, know how much work it takes to actually be successful and to do this for long term. And the people that have stuck it out, they get it. I mean, and that just becomes part of their strategy, part of their resilience. And honestly, I think a lot of people don't give it enough of a chance.
Yes.
And they quit before they've put in the actual work. So I don't think there's burnout, unless you're talking about people who've been in it for 20 years, right? And they're just burnt out. But in the beginning, I don't think you find people with burnout, because I don't think they realize just how much work it takes. And I say that one more time, Tom. They do not realize how much work it takes. And even today, for me, right, and you, it takes a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
A couple years ago, someone booked a free 15-minute consult with me, and I'm like, sure, what's going on? They're like, I've done all these auditions, and I just can't seem to book anything. And I'm like, well, how many have you done? 40?
Yes, exactly.
And I'm such a jerk. I went, oh, I'm so sorry. And
just like I did.
I apologize profusely. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I really don't mean to laugh, but you need to put 2 zeros on the end of that before you can really. And he's like, okay, thanks for your time. And he pretty much hung up on me. He was very upset. And I feel bad to this day. I hope he's a successful voice actor right now. I felt really bad about that.
It's funny because people, I will say that. It's kind of like the old thing, when you invite 100 people to a party, how many people show up, right? There's a small percentage, right? If you do auditions, how many, if you book, how many percent of those auditions, right? And Tom, that's something you can go back to your spreadsheet. I don't have a spread. I did have a spreadsheet before. Yeah, I know you've got the numbers. And so you could say it's a lower percentage than people think. They think, I auditioned for 100, I should be able to book 50.
No, take a zero off of that.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're booking
1 to 2 to 3%, I mean,
if you're booking 5% of your auditions, you're doing amazing.
Oh, that's amazing, and that's even if you've been in the industry for 20 years.
Yeah,
exactly.
It also, that percentage will go up and down based on whether the auditions are coming through your representation, which there may be a lot less people auditioning for it, or if it's coming through an online casting site, especially if it's like a free online casting site, like if you're on Casting Call Club or something where literally thousands of people are auditioning. Or if it's through your self-marketing strategies where you're one of a handful of people of your demographic on some production company's roster and you're one of 3 or 4 people that are auditioning. So the percentages will go up and down, but if you average the whole thing out, if you're doing 5%, you're doing really, really well.
Yeah. And I'm going to say a big part of that, again, it runs into this whole mindset that I think is a huge part of success in long-term success is mindset. Because again, in the beginning, when you're like, oh my gosh, I've auditioned 40 times and I didn't get anything, or I auditioned 100 times, you know what I mean? I got a short list, and so that whole thing in the very beginning of my career, myself, right, was hard. I had to fight through it. I had to make sure that I was like, no. I am confident in my skills. I'm confident that I can do this. And I think that your mental mindset has a lot to do with your success, and in sticking it out, right? Again, being and pushing through the lean times, pushing through the times where even I did a great audition, I could have been the perfect voice, yet I still did not get the job. Understanding that people cast for many different reasons. It's not all to do with your skill or performance.
I agree. I need to make one more very important point, which is the reason why I'm able to still be in the voiceover industry. Because there was a time when my income was fluctuating wildly and then kind of downshifted. This is one thing bosses, if there's one thing I want you to take away from this conversation, it's this. It's that decision makers to make decisions in certain ways over who they're going to cast, why they're going to cast them, and how they're going to cast them. That changes over time. So in the 90s, there were no online casting sites. Okay. It was agents. So either you had an agent or you didn't. And self-marketing, in the 90s, I was making 50 cold calls a day. A lot of people didn't really even have email.
Nobody knew what that was.
So the decision makers in the 90s, right, were agents and managers, which I didn't get representation for a very long time. I didn't get my first quality, consistent rep until 2005.
Yep.
Before that, it was
2006.
Yeah. Okay. And then, and then it evolved into email. So I'll put it, so it's like this. You're a voice seeker, you're a decision maker, and you're looking in this direction and saying, this is how I decide, this is how I cast voice actors. They've got these horse blinders on. This is the point where they're facing. You need to be right there in their view, being like, how you doing? With your demos in their hand, with the marketing and whatever. But there's going to come a point, and this happens for almost all of them, that at some point they're going to be like, nope, this is how I make voiceover decisions now. This is how I cast. Often, and in the early 2000s to this day, it's shifted where now they're looking at online casting sites. So if the view of the decision makers goes from here and it moves, and let's say it's a spotlight. If that spotlight goes over here and you're not in that spotlight, they're not booking you. You need to go from there to there to be like, how you doing? Because now the spotlight's shining on you, because this is where they're making decisions on how to cast. And then it'll shift again, and it'll shift again. Agents, managers, casting directors, free casting sites, pay-to-play casting sites, self-marketing strategies, indirect and indirect, and AI.
And again, don't forget the top, and I always think like we are so isolated in our booths, right? And we're auditioning, we're like, but I've got the skill set, but I'm not getting the work, right? Or whatever mindset tricks you're playing on yourself. You still cannot forget that our profession is guided by the clients who hire us, right? They're decision makers. Like, what is, where are they hiring? How are they hiring? Is it, they're busy people. We're busy people. I mean, I would say that this life, the pacing of this life just gets quicker and quicker and quicker. And so some of them still rely on talent agents or their agents or casting directors to help them make decisions. Some of them are like, I just need to Google at the prompt and find someone. And it really depends on who is hiring us. And don't forget to educate yourself and practice resilience and strategies to get to those people and understand why they hire us, why they may not hire us, and how you can get in front of them. And I love that example of the spotlight, Tom, because that just makes a whole lot of sense. You've got to be in their field of vision in order for that to happen. And there can be many reasons as to why you're not, but understanding and educating yourself and evolving along with the industry and being knowledgeable in more ways than just performance, there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah, because you know what? Cold calls worked, and then they don't work, and then emails work, and then they don't work, and then newsletters work, and then they don't work.
And then emails come back a little bit.
And then they work again, and then postcards work, and then they don't work.
And then texting works,
and texting works, and then social media works, and then it doesn't work, and then they go to a different social media platform that you were on.
Now they're tired of exactly. Now they're tired of like AI.
They try AI, and then they get off of AI, and it never stops, which is why you got to make sure that, and this is a big word, and Make sure that legacy thinking does not stagnate your voiceover
Exactly.
career. Legacy
Love it.
thinking destroys careers.
Absolutely. 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 You have to have a broader sense of the business of voiceover to really understand and have longevity. Now, there's very few people who maybe started off in the beginning. They're super talented. They're in a big market. They've got a manager, right, or an agent that is going to bat for them. And so, that's a different story. But I would say that's maybe less than 1% of the total voiceover population where that's happening. Other than that, you have to have your eye on the ball. You have to be in that spotlight, as Tom says, that moving, rotating spotlight. You have to be educated about that spotlight. And I'm going to say that trusted people in the industry that you have a relationship with, good coaches, good agents, good managers, and your community is so important to help you to be successful. It is an isolating job, right? This is such an we're in our booths, we're by ourselves. And I know that it was a big adjustment for me when I went full time into voiceover. Versus, having my corporate job where I went to the office every day. I had a kind of a social interaction with my colleagues and my teammates. And now all of a sudden I'm by myself and I have myself and my thoughts.
Scary.
And my thoughts can be scary sometimes, especially when I'm doubting, right? Why am I not booking, right?
Yeah.
Why? And those thoughts can be destructive in a successful voiceover career. So the mental part of it, the resilience, the strategizing is, I think, almost, you can't really have a career without having good performance skills and good business skills. But also, if your mental health is not there and your community is not there to support you, your loved ones aren't there to support you and encourage you, it's going to be really hard because it's an isolating industry. And thank goodness for the conferences, right? And the little get-togethers that we can have. I mean, we're like hungry people when we go to conferences. We're all like, we can't get enough of each other, right? Seeing each other after all this time. And really that community is, I think, a big part of what can help you to be successful in a long-term voiceover career.
I think you're right, Ann. I think that's one of the most important ingredients to a successful long-term career is to be a part of the community for education, for inspiration, for commiseration, and for renewal of purpose.
Exactly. Yeah. So bosses, we are part of a community. So I encourage you to be a part of a community, be a part of Tom's community. And really, we will get through this. And 20 years from now, we will still be God willing, if the technology
God willing, and the creek don't rise, as the old people say.
God willing, we will still be here. We will still be here doing voiceover and the stuff that we love. Or even if it's not voiceover, it's something that we love, and that we still have our community. And so, what a great conversation, guys! Keep going. A marathon, not a sprint. Keep going. We've got faith in you, and we've got a community here that can support you. Tom and I are here. So bosses, reach out if you need, and we've got you. So, yeah. All right. Big shout out to our sponsor, IPDTL. You too can connect and network like bosses, real bosses. Find out more at ipdtl.com. Have an amazing week, bosses, and we'll see you next week.